Before we dive into your next burger run, you need to know something. Some of the biggest chain restaurants in America are serving burgers that range from disappointing to downright concerning. But there are 5 chains absolutely crushing it with quality you can taste in every bite. Starting with the ones you should probably skip, number 5 might surprise you because it's Burger King. Look, nostalgia is powerful, and the Whopper has been around forever, but when multiple independent taste tests over the last few years keep putting this chain at or near dead last, we've got a problem. The Los Angeles Times did this massive ranking of 23 burger chains, and Burger King landed in 23rd place, which is literally last place. Testers described the patties as insipid and dry, with the overall flavor dominated by ketchup and mayo sweetness, rather than any actual beef character. And this wasn't just one person having a bad day. A 2025 head-to-head comparison of 6 major chains, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Wendy's, Sonic, and Burger King, named the Whopper the worst of the group, with critics pointing to dryness and sloppy produce as the main culprits. This isn't about the marketing of flame-grilled appeal or anything like that. The actual eating experience just doesn't deliver what other national chains manage to pull off at similar or even lower prices. And when you're spending money on a burger, even fast food money, you want that first bite to make you think, yeah, this was worth it. With Burger King, you're more likely to find yourself reaching for extra condiments just to make it through the sandwich, which means the value proposition falls apart when the core product underwhelms. If you absolutely have to go to Burger King, maybe you're on a road trip with limited options or whatever, stick with the Whopper Jr. and load up on extra pickles and mustard. But if there's literally any other option nearby, your taste buds will thank you for choosing that instead. Moving to number 4 on our skip list, we've got Sonic Drive-In. Sonic has a lot going for it when it comes to the overall experience because the car hop nostalgia factor is real and their drink menu, with all those customization options, is genuinely fun. But we're here to talk about burgers, and that's where things get rough. In that same LA Times ranking, Sonic landed in 20th place out of 23 chains, with the review mentioning everything from missing condiments to overall pass verdicts on the burgers. More recently, the Takeout actually singled out Sonic as their least favorite chain restaurant for burgers after doing a 2025 comparison, and they specifically called out patties that tasted dry and oddly generic compared to other chains. Even when the visual presentation looked decent, the actual beef flavor just wasn't there. A deep dive from Eat This Not That in 2024 tried to be fair and noted that some of the newer smasher-style items showed more promise, but inconsistency was a major theme, and several of their core burger offerings came across as rubbery or bland. When the best thing reviewers can say is that a few newer menu items are pretty good if they travel well, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement for a burger chain. Sonic's real strengths are in their add-ons and specialty items, so if you're at Sonic, get yourself some tater tots, grab a customized slush, maybe try one of their limited-time novelty items. But if the main reason you're pulling into that stall is because you're craving a memorable burger, you're probably going to walk away wishing you'd made a different choice. So save the burger craving for a different stop and enjoy Sonic for what it actually does best. At number 3 on the avoid list is Dairy Queen, specifically their grill and chill locations. Nobody is going to argue about Dairy Queen's dessert game because their blizzards are iconic and the dipped cones are fantastic, and that's really where this chain shines. But when DQ decided to expand into the burger space with their Stack Burgers line, the reception from people who actually care about burgers was lukewarm at best. The Takeout did a detailed hands-on review and found that all 5 of Dairy Queen's burgers have the same fundamental problem, which is that the patties come across as pale and springy, devoid of beef's typical personality, as they put it. Even the best option in their lineup only earned praise because the toppings were doing heavy lifting while the actual beef just wasn't bringing much to the party. The LA Times ranking kept DQ in the lower half at number 16, acknowledging a couple gimmicky but decent options while still making it clear that ice cream, not burgers, is this brand's wheelhouse. Then there's the nutrition angle to consider because DQ's own published nutrition data shows their standard original cheeseburger double clocking in at 1,530 milligrams of sodium, which is roughly 2/3 of a typical daily recommended limit before you even add fries or a drink. Even their simpler double burgers push past 1,000 milligrams of sodium, and if you're trying to keep your meal in check nutrition-wise, this makes it really hard to enjoy sides or dessert without blowing past your targets for the day. So when you're at Dairy Queen, lean into what they do well and get that blizzard, get that dipped cone. Enjoy the frozen treats that made this chain famous in the first place. If you need something hot off the grill, their chicken strips are usually a safer bet than the burgers, and you shouldn't force the burger experience at a place where it's clearly not the main attraction. Number 2 on our skip list is actually a pretty easy call, because Wiener Schnitzel is a hot dog specialist, and even the most generous reviewers acknowledge that their burgers feel like an afterthought. In that comprehensive LA Times ranking of 23 chains, Wiener Schnitzel came in at number 21 with the assessment comparing the burger quality to something you might find in an institutional cafeteria. The one menu item that got a not-too-bad mention was their chili cheeseburger, but that was essentially because the chili was doing all the work covering up the burger underneath. So the broader verdict is crystal clear that this just isn't the place you go when you want a burger. Hot dogs, chili, nostalgia, that's the Wiener Schnitzel lane, and they do those things well. If you find yourself at Wiener Schnitzel, order to the brand and get the dogs, try the chili, lean into what they've been doing for decades. But if someone suggests meeting up at Wiener Schnitzel specifically because they're craving a great burger, you might want to gently redirect that conversation toward a different destination, because there's no shame in a restaurant knowing what it does best and sticking to that. We just need to be honest about what that actually is. And finally, landing at number 1 on our avoid list is Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's be clear up front that B-Dubs isn't really positioning itself as a burger joint because the whole concept is wings, sports on TV, and that bar atmosphere. But they do serve burgers, and if you order one, you should know what you're getting into. A 2025 deep dive from Tasting Table on B-Dubs' non-chicken menu items called their House Burger among the most flavorless burgers the reviewer had ever encountered, with the critique focused on under-seasoned meat and builds that just didn't justify either the calories or the price tag. Speaking of calories, let's talk numbers for a second, because the Center for Science in the Public Interest, which is a non-profit food policy watchdog group, specifically flagged Buffalo Wild Wings Bacon Mac and Cheeseburger with fries. This one meal comes in at 1,580 calories, 36 grams of saturated fat, and 3,440 milligrams of sodium, and to put that in perspective, that's more than a full day's worth of saturated fat, and roughly a day and a half of sodium in a single sitting. Even if you're planning a cheat meal, you can find way tastier options that deliver that same indulgent feeling without such an extreme nutritional hit. If you're at Buffalo Wild Wings with friends for the game, there's an easy play here, which is to focus on what the restaurant actually does well, and that's wings and sauces. If someone at the table is curious about the burger, maybe split one as a curiosity, while your main order is something that plays to B-Dub's strengths. But don't go in expecting a burger that's going to compete with actual burger-focused chains, because you're going to end up disappointed. All right, I know that first half was a lot of bad news, and trust me, I don't enjoy being the bearer of disappointing burger information. But this is where everything changes, because the good news is there are 5 chains out there absolutely nailing the burger game, and they're worth every single bite. These aren't just okay options. These are places consistently delivering quality that shows up in independent testing, transparent sourcing, and actual care in how they prepare their food. So if you've been feeling discouraged about where to get a legitimately great chain burger, this next section is going to restore your faith. Starting at number 5 on our must-try list, we've got the Habit Burger Grill. The Habit straddles that line between fast food and fast casual with char-grilled burgers that consistently punch above their weight class in terms of taste, while often undercutting premium competitors on price. In USA Today's 10 Best 2024 Reader's Choice Awards, The Habit took the #1 spot for Best Fast Food Burger, and they repeated as a top finisher in 2025 with In-N-Out right behind them as runner-up. Reader's Choice polls aren't the same as controlled taste tests, but when you see sustained enthusiasm year after year, that tells you something real about customer satisfaction, because people aren't just trying The Habit once, they're coming back and voting with their wallets repeatedly. The LA Times ranking kept The Habit in the middle of the pack at number 13 in their critics' assessment, but even that reviewer called it a good quality burger at a fair price, and when a chain wins passionate reader support and still earns grudging respect from tough critics, that's a pretty solid signal. The signature item is the double char with cheese, and those griddled onions are absolutely worth requesting because you get clean char grill notes that don't drown the burger in sauce with seasoning that's on point. If you want to lean into a West Coast diner vibe, try the Santa Barbara char on grilled sourdough. And The Habit delivers on that promise of flame-grilled flavor without the execution issues that plague some other chains attempting the same thing. Coming in at number 4 on our must-try list is Five Guys. Let's address the elephant in the room right away because Five Guys is not cheap and you're going to pay fast casual prices here, sometimes even nudging into casual dining territory depending on your order. But this is what you get for that money, which is hand-formed fresh patties that are never frozen, cooked well done on a hot flat top, with a free toppings model that lets you build exactly the burger you want. That customization freedom is huge, and the LA Times put Five Guys in their top 10 at number 8, praising that backyard burger flavor while acknowledging the price point. The key word there is flavor, because when you bite into a Five Guys burger, you taste beef. You taste the sear from that flat top, and the toppings are fresh and generous. Five Guys emphasizes in all their materials that they don't use freezers, just coolers, and the burgers are formed from fresh beef and cooked all the way through for food safety consistency. Their nutrition guide, which is current as of 2025, even notes the standard patty weights, where a regular burger is 2 patties, totaling just over 7 ounces of fresh beef. Now, the reality check on nutrition is that a Five Guys cheeseburger is substantial because independent databases put it around 840 calories and roughly 1,050 milligrams of sodium before you add any toppings. If you pile on bacon and mayo and then split an order of fries, you're easily looking at a big caloric event, and that's not necessarily bad. It just means you want to make it a conscious choice rather than a surprise. Several media roundups have flagged Five Guys as ranking high on the indulgence scale, precisely because the portions are generous and the ingredients are rich. If you're going to Five Guys, the pro move is to get the little burger, which is 1 patty instead of 2, then load it up with grilled onions, grilled mushrooms, mustard, and pickles, so you maximize that Maillard reaction flavor from the grill, while keeping the calorie load more manageable. And seriously consider sharing those fries because they portion them generously. Five Guys isn't an everyday burger, it's a when you really want to treat yourself burger, and it delivers on that promise. At number 3 on our must-try list, we've got Shake Shack. This is the chain that helped popularize the modern fast casual burger experience with that proprietary Angus blend on a soft potato bun and the perfect balance of Shack sauce and toppings. In 2024, the takeout ranked Shake Shack as their #1 pick in a national fast food burger taste test, and they praised the beefiness and overall construction, noting that McDonald's has been closing the gap with improvements of their own, but Shake Shack still held the crown in that particular comparison. The sourcing story matters here because Shake Shack advertises their 100% Angus beef as having no added hormones and no added antibiotics, and they repeat this prominently in their 2025 nutrition documentation. The single Shack burger sits around 500 calories and approximately 1,250 milligrams of sodium before you add sides. So it's definitely an indulgence, but it's a transparently labeled one because the nutrition information is right there, clearly presented, so you can make informed decisions about how it fits into your day. How to order at Shake Shack for best results is pretty straightforward, because the single gives you that neat, balanced handheld experience where every component works together. If you want bigger beef flavor and don't mind a messier eat, go for the double, and ask for extra pickles to cut through the richness of the shack sauce and cheese. If you prefer sweetness over acidity, swap the raw onions for griddled ones, but pay attention to your sides and shake choices if you're watching sodium, because those numbers add up quickly when you build a full meal. Shake Shack represents that sweet spot of quality ingredients, careful execution, and a build that just works because it's not trying to be overly complicated, it's just doing the fundamentals really well. Now we're at number 2 on our must-try list, and this is where regional pride really kicks in. Culver's brings that Midwestern sensibility of doing things right without making a big fuss about it. And the Butterburger isn't just a name, it's a whole methodology. Culver's presses and sears fresh, never frozen beef to order, then serves it on a lightly buttered toasted bun. And that press and sear technique is crucial because it locks in juices and gives you that signature browned crust that delivers so much flavor. The LA Times ranking put Culver's in the top 10 at number 7 with a simple assessment that it's a buttery burger and it's delicious, and sometimes the best praise is the most straightforward. What really sets Culver's apart is the transparency and the baseline nutrition being surprisingly reasonable for a chain burger, because they publish detailed, frequently updated nutrition guides, and the numbers tell an interesting story. The Butterburger single comes in at just 390 calories and 480 milligrams of sodium, which is strikingly moderate compared to many other chains, and even the double stays well under 4 digits of sodium on its own. Obviously, if you go for one of their specialty builds with bacon and extra cheese and sauce, those numbers climb. But the fact that the baseline is so manageable means you have room to add what you actually want without immediately blowing past your targets. For ordering strategy at Culver's, the double is really the way to go for optimal meat to bun ratio, because you get better crust to interior contrast with 2 pressed patties working together. The deluxe build adds the classic lettuce, tomato, onion, and pickle stack. Or you can go simpler with just mustard, pickle, and onion if you want something closer to a classic roadside stand style. If you love cheese, and honestly, who doesn't, Culver's uses real Wisconsin cheese rather than processed cheese sauce, so it stays in balance with the rest of the burger instead of overwhelming it. Culver's corporate messaging is refreshingly clear about why they insist on fresh beef, because they straight up say that frozen patties lose moisture, and moisture is flavor. It's marketing, sure, but it also aligns with what you actually taste when you eat there. And the butter on the bun, the fresh beef pressed to order, the real cheese. It all comes together into something that feels a lot more like a diner burger than typical fast food. And that's exactly the point. And we're at number 1, the chain that consistently tops rankings and creates almost cult-like loyalty among its fans. We're talking about In-N-Out Burger. The double-double at In-N-Out is a masterclass in the less is more philosophy, because you get modest-sized patties that are seared hard on the grill, a lightly sweet toasted bun, real American cheese, hand-leafed lettuce, tomato, onion options, both raw and grilled, and that signature spread that brings tangy acidity to balance everything else. In the LA Times ranking of 23 chains, In-N-Out landed in the top 5 at number 5 overall, and even a self-proclaimed skeptic in that review called it a great burger that's still a genuine bargain compared to premium competitors. When you can win over skeptics, you know you're doing something right. The quality is something you can literally taste, and it comes from operational choices that In-N-Out has stuck with from the beginning. The company has always made their patties from fresh, 100% USDA, ground chuck with no fillers, no additives, no preservatives, and it's never frozen. They produce the patties in In-N-Out's own facilities and deliver them fresh to stores multiple times per week, and the brand is crystal clear in their messaging that they don't freeze, pre-package, or microwave their food. That's not just marketing language, it's an operational commitment that shows up in consistency across locations. Let's talk about how to order for maximum enjoyment, because In-N-Out has that secret menu culture that can be intimidating if you're new. Animal style is probably the most famous modification, and for good reason, because they mustard sear the patty for extra Maillard depth, add extra spread, throw on grilled onions and pickles, and it brings a whole different level of savory complexity. For onions, raw gives you that sharp bite and grilled brings sweetness, or you can ask for both, with if you want layered allium flavor hitting from different angles. Protein style means they wrap it in lettuce instead of a bun, which is great if you're cutting carbs and sodium while keeping the core burger flavor intact. A pro tip not enough people know about is to ask for extra toast on the bun, because you get more crunch and texture contrast, and it helps the bun stand up better to the juices and sauce without getting soggy. The one weakness In-N-Out has, and fans will readily admit this, is the fries, because they're just not great. Many veteran In-N-Out customers will grab the burger and a drink there, then hit another spot for fries, or just skip fries altogether. But for the burger itself, In-N-Out remains the classic that newer chains are constantly trying to match. It's the standard bearer, the one that proved you could have fast food speed with quality ingredients and careful preparation. And decades later, that formula still works. So there you have it. 5 chains where the burger just isn't worth your time or money, and 5 where you're getting quality that shows up in every bite. Life's too short for disappointing burgers, and now you know exactly where to go for the good stuff. If this saved you from a bad burger or pointed you toward your next great meal, hit that like button and drop a comment letting me know which chain shocked you most or where you're headed for your next burger. Subscribe, because we're going to keep digging into which chains deserve your money and which ones don't.